this is Sally and welcome to Reclaiming Pride, LGBT plus survivors of narcissistic abuse. Before we start, there is a trigger warning. The episodes of this podcast may at times refer to domestic violence, emotional, financial and sexual abuse. To begin, as always, I'd like us to start with a one-word feelings check. What's one word for how you are feeling right now in this moment? Not how other people around you are feeling, not how you may be making other people feel, but how are you feeling in this moment? This week, we're going to be looking at why and how narcissists ruin seasonal holidays and celebrations. I remember with my ex, there was always tension, fight started by her leading up to and after celebrations and holidays. Now this could be birthdays, this could be Mother's Days, Father's Days, Christmas, any of those kinds of celebrations which were kind of big and that people would get together for. Those are the ones that we celebrated. There was always fighting beforehand, and it always felt like she was getting me kind of in line, reminding me of who was in charge. You know, don't get too comfortable now. I remember one morning before I was due to go to work when we lived in New York, we had an altercation in the corridor of our apartment. And again, it was just one of those things where she said something and I responded just in a regular way. It wasn't anything that would have goaded her in any way. And she literally grabbed me by the hair and threw me around the hallway. I had stuff in my hands. It went all over the floor. I just got ready for work. She then insisted on, and I don't know why she did this, maybe to kind of quote unquote make up for it, she insisted on taking me to the train station. Again, maybe a way to kind of, again, enforce her control because she wanted to take me somewhere. Maybe she was afraid I was going to go and talk to someone or tell someone. So she took me to the subway, getting very upset all of the way, you know, in a kind of, I had to hit you kind of way. Anyway, I got out of the car, thank God. I waited for my train, went into work. It was later on that I realised that day was actually her mother's birthday. I remember another time that her kid had one of his birthdays. I think it may have been his kind of 7th or 8th birthday. And she wanted to take him on the Intrepid. So the USS Intrepid, so the ship parked along the West Side Highway there. She created so much fighting and violence before that, and then she sort of banned me from going. And we'd been planning this. I mean, basically I paid for it because I used to pay for everything. And she went, and you know, it was him and all of his friends, and they went and all of that. And just for months and months afterwards, she would never let me live it down that I didn't go. I spoiled it because I didn't go. Meanwhile, she had been verbally abusive, physically abusive, and then banned me from coming. I remember another time when it was her son's birthday and she got him a trip up in a helicopter. This was down here in Florida. And I filmed it on my phone so you could see them getting in. And I filmed it, and as the helicopter's taking off, you know, I said a few things while I was filming. She literally grabbed the phone from me, yanked it out of my hands and started cursing at me. Why have you always got to say something? Make it about you. There was tension for the rest of the day as the family dragged around after her. She'd sort of overscheduled the day. No one could say anything about anything. Everybody was miserable. Her family were kind of looking at me as if to say, this is awful. And I was looking at them as if to say, well, I know, but what exactly would you like me to do about it? Later on, we all went for dinner and I was sort of sitting at the end of the table, and she literally turned around and put her back square to me. So I was sitting at the end of the table being ignored. It was just awful. I think the last Christmas that we had, we were at her family's house, and it was relatively okay. You know, we played a few games with her and her family. It was okay. It was still very tense, but it was relatively okay. The next day, her mum came over with some leftovers, but because her mum hadn't let her know beforehand, there was a screaming match outside the house. There was physical violence outside the house, and she stopped speaking to them. She stopped having anything to do with her family after that. I actually never saw them again because it was about 6-7 months later that we split up, and so I never saw them again. I never had anything to do with them again after that. There are so many instances, listeners, and I'm sure you've got plenty of your own as well, but that's just a few of mine that were relatively recent actually. So let's start as always by breaking it down into the why and the how of narcissists and ruining celebrations. So let's start by saying that narcissists often have a negative impact on celebrations, to say the least, and holidays. This is due to their personality traits and behaviors. And here's why and how they can ruin these special occasions. So first, we've got their insatiable need for attention. So narcissists have an insatiable need for attention and validation, always. During celebrations and holidays, when the focus is typically on the event or on the people being celebrated, the narcissist might feel threatened or neglected if they're not the center of attention. They might resort to attention-seeking behaviors that disrupt the festivities, such as histrionic behavior, crying, being very verbally aggressive, overly zealous about something, just anything that will bring attention to them, interrupting people's conversations, telling people at the dinner table what they can and cannot eat and what they should and shouldn't be having, all of those kinds of things, trying to sort of draw attention to themselves. The next one is their grandiosity. So, as you know, the narcissists have an inflated sense of self-importance and they believe they deserve special treatment. So they may demand that special treatment, like extravagant gifts, or expect everyone to cater to their needs during the holidays and celebrations. This can create tension and disappointment for other people who have to deal with it at what's supposed to be a happy time. The next one is their lack of empathy. So because they tend to lack empathy or have no empathy at all for others, they may not be sensitive to the feelings and needs of those around them. This can result in them disregarding others' wishes, making insensitive remarks when other people are trying to celebrate, or failing to recognize the significance of the occasion for somebody else because they literally just don't care. The next one is manipulation. Narcissists are skilled at manipulating others, and they might use celebrations and holidays as opportunities to manipulate or control other people. They might guilt trip you or use emotional manipulation to get what they want during the celebration, which can create a toxic atmosphere. They may tell you to act a certain way before you get to somebody's house, and if you don't, there's going to be trouble. Those kinds of things. The next one is conflict and drama. So, as you well know, narcissists are often prone to interpersonal conflict and drama, even though they say they want the complete opposite. But they're usually at the center of the hurricane when it comes to conflict and drama. They might pick fights, create tension, provoke arguments during celebrations, turning what should be a joyful occasion into a stressful and unpleasant experience for everyone. The next one is their disregard for traditions. So narcissists might not respect a value or a family cultural tradition associated with a holiday that's being celebrated. They might refuse to participate in activities that don't revolve around them, or simply disrupt long-standing customs, leading to disappointment and frustration for everybody involved. The next is jealousy and envy. So they might become jealous or envious of others' achievements or happiness during the special occasion. This can lead to them downplaying others' successes or attempting to overshadow them with their own achievements or stories. Or basically just kind of sitting there and putting a wet blanket over everything and just making it very, very obvious that they're completely disengaged. So for example, you might all be standing around a table talking about making happy gestures about the person, saying nice things about the person who's being celebrated. They will appear disengaged, bored. They may even break the circle and go to the bathroom, or walk off to get some food and then rejoin the circle while other people are sharing about the person that's being celebrated. This links into the next one, which is unpredictable behavior. So narcissists can exhibit unpredictable behavior, which can make it challenging for family and friends to anticipate how they're going to act during these celebrations, which is very stressful. This uncertainty can create a lot of anxiety and tension in an event. The next one is one that you've probably put up with a lot during celebrations and holidays, and that's criticism. So they can be overly critical of an event, pointing out flaws, making negative comments, just to dampen the mood generally. The next one is that they are highly competitive. So some folks with NPD view everything as a contest. So they might try and outshine the others in terms of achievements, gifts, or accomplishments during celebrations. If their gift is not received in the way in which they think it should be, they may have a tantrum, they might go quiet, give people the silent treatment, leave early, all of those kinds of things. The next one is difficulty sharing the spotlight. Now, I know this is something you've definitely noticed before. Celebrations are typically occasions for sharing, right? Sharing joy, accomplishments, celebrating someone, sharing memories about that person. However, someone with narcissistic personality disorder will struggle to genuinely celebrate others' achievements and may feel envious or resentful of that person. So I remember, for example, my ex would put on a really good show of doing that, and then in the car on the way home, she would just go into a rage. There'd be reckless driving, screaming, grabbing, like all of those kinds of things, because obviously she'd had to keep it all bottled up. All of the rage, basically, that she felt about the person, towards the person who was being celebrated, would then be taken out on me and whoever else was in the car. Finally, there's ingratitude. So they may fail to express gratitude or appreciation for all of the effort made by others to organize or contribute to the celebration. And this includes their own celebration, right? So this includes their own birthday or celebration of their own self as well. And that brings us to the next thing, narcissists and their own birthdays. So you might know, if you've spent any number of birthdays around the narcissist, that they might want that day to be extremely grandiose. They might want that day to be exactly what they want, and yet they won't have made that clear at all. So if you put one hair out of line, there's going to be trouble. It's got that kind of whole aura of tension as this person's birthday approaches, because you know that it's really going to kick off. Here it comes again, nothing will be right. And the narcissist's birthday really just does throw all of that behavior into high relief. On the other end of the spectrum, you've got the narcissists who don't like their birthday because they're reminders of aging. They might find them overly emotional, which they're uncomfortable with. In these instances, any kind of sort of thoughtful or emotional gesture is likely to be rejected very harshly, rudely, or even aggressively. I remember when we were in New York, and I'd actually been to England for Christmas to spend it with my mum, and my mum and I had picked out my ex some things for her birthday, and we'd taken a long time doing it, and we put a lot of thought into it, and I wrapped them all individually. It's very pretty, and they were things that actually, you know, she normally would have liked. I remember giving her these things. I ended up going out and getting her favourite breakfast that ended up getting shoved at me and saying how disgusting it was and nothing like what she wanted. This was cold, that was wrong. It got slung on the floor. And then the presents came afterwards. They got thrown across the room. I got screamed at because it's something that, you know, she would never want. Meanwhile, it's exactly the sort of thing that she used to wear, and so on and so forth. And sure enough, later on, she did wear it a number of times, because none of what she was saying in that moment was true. She literally just wanted to talk to somebody on her birthday. Birthdays really take that narcissistic relationship and put it under the microscope. So the gifts you get them are either not right, too much, too little. If you put any kind of celebration together, it's either not right, too much, or too little. Be prepared that it is a day where you won't get it right, whether you remember to or not. You cannot win with some narcissists on their birthdays. It's just a horrendous time. Usually during the holidays, the narcissist is in a heightened state of kind of fantasy fulfillment. They're chasing that perfection that they can never have. This finds you completely unacceptable, as all of your perceived imperfections are just glaring at them in their full awareness, and they are demanding improvement because nothing you do will be good enough. But you're a normal person who's most likely imperfect like everybody else. To the narcissist, this causes huge, what we call narcissistic injury during a special day that's supposed to be for them. The narcissist's anxiety is extreme. You'll find that it needs to be ameliorated by their belief that their external circumstances need to change. Like this, none of this is good enough for me, and it's all of your fault. You're the primary external circumstance in need of a serious change, a serious overhaul. They will become your judge, jury, and prosecutor. It's like you're in court and all you did was try and give them a birthday gift or a birthday celebration. You don't stand a chance. You try to change, you try to appease them, you try to cajole, cater to them, do anything that they want just to calm them down. But trying to get a narcissist to see this, to see how you're trying, is just ridiculous, because it won't work. Nothing works. I remember even around my own birthdays or Christmas, for us, I wasn't allowed to ask for anything. You know, sometimes people will say, oh, you know, is there anything that you want? Because, you know, it's a bit hard to know what to get you. Is there anything you want? No, nothing ordinary like that. I wasn't allowed to ask for anything, because when I did ask for something once, there was just this rage, this utter rage, throwing things, saying that this was me being controlling, saying you're just like your mother, you're so controlling. My mum used to write texts or call and ask what we might want for our birthday. And she would walk around in the cold with her arthritis in England, and she would get it and she would wrap it and she would get the bus all the way to the post office at the top of the town where she lived to send it off to America. And apparently I was being too much like my mother in asking for something that I wanted. I would end up with the gifts that she wanted to get me. If she ever did get me something that I had dared to ask for, she would almost shove it at me, like, there you go. You know, are you proud of how controlling you can be? Like that kind of an interaction. We would go to the places that she wanted to go. I remember on my 40th birthday, and in a previous episode I'd mentioned on my 40th birthday, she'd followed me down the street yelling, "That's why I had to hit you," before we got in the car, because we were talking about my own debit card that I had taken to work that week in my purse. And I had failed to leave it next to the telephone on the side, as I had to do every evening. So eventually we got in the car. Most of the journey was completely silent, and when we finally got there to this cottage that she had rented, because of course, you know, big spender, and yet I was completely miserable, I noticed that the door was open ajar, which was odd, and I was a bit scared at first. And then I walked in, and there was her ex-girlfriend and her partner at the time, and it was kind of a surprise party. So I spent my 40th birthday with my ex, her ex-girlfriend, and her new partner. There was always tension. I remember in 2020 during COVID, her mum was on the phone, you know, watching me open the gift that my ex had got me. I remember if I didn't make a huge enough fuss, if I wasn't utterly kind of almost prostrating myself in thankfulness, it would be a problem. Meanwhile, I'd never asked for this thing. I didn't know what it was. And it was really nice, but okay. You know, but if you don't totally give them this bottomless fount of adulation, there's always a problem. You could tell that she hated other people's celebrations. There were forced smiles, eye rolls, sneers, control, criticism, slamming things, walking out of the room. There was always tension. It was never relaxed. It was just any kind of celebration or holiday was always a heightened form of tension, and there was always trouble afterwards, always. After one of my most recent birthdays, before we split up, she kicked a hole in the wall, which I can still see the repaired hole in the wall, and every time I look at it, I think, oh yeah, that was the day after my birthday. She actually walked out the next day screaming and accusing me of throwing her out. So the feeling towards the holidays, unsurprisingly, having heard all of that, is usually one of dread at the prospect of dealing with the narcissist at a time that should be a relatively happy one. Now, I'm not saying that the holidays are peachy keen for everybody. I do know that in many family setups, in many family dynamics, it can actually be very stressful as well. But we all know that the best thing is to stay away from a narcissist that you've identified in your life. But for some of us, there's at least one time of year when you have to interact with this person, and it's usually the holidays. Or you may still be trapped in a relationship with them, too scared to move. Holidays can be extremely difficult for people with narcissistic partners or family members. Also, the added layer of being LGBT plus can have the holidays as times when you are judged by others whom you wouldn't normally usually see throughout the year, but you're kind of forced to be around. There could be snickering or the heterosexual assumption or all these kinds of things that you also have to withstand as somebody who's gay or trans. The holidays can often be a time to withstand covert homophobia and or transphobia from family members. And it's stressful enough as it is. Add on to this the anxiety of being with a narcissist. Celebrations and get-togethers and family times are invariably left in shambles by the narcissist, and you are just in tatters inside. The narcissist will throw tantrums, cause arguments, they might even destroy property or get into physical fights at family gatherings. They destroy the mood and they create havoc, and they will not be happy until everyone is as miserable as they are. I remember being at a celebration at my ex's family member's house, and she found where the music was coming from, and she was changing the music and turning it up, turning it down, doing all kinds of things with the music. And then when some of the kids were playing on the trampoline, she was going over there and telling them what to do and what not to do. Meanwhile, these were all other people's kids. It wasn't her house, it wasn't her music, it wasn't her party. But there would always be things like that. I also remember her sitting at events like that and talking to everybody except me. And then when I would try and engage with her or something like that, she would look at me and eye roll as if I was being needy. It was just bizarre. So in that respect, she was actually sort of taking out on me the way she was feeling about being around these other people in their celebration. So she was kind of just being nasty to me so that she could get that out on somebody somehow. Even getting to these events is stressful. I remember awful fights, reckless driving, getting to some of my ex's family holiday events, swerving across traffic, slamming on brakes to make me lurch forward as a form of aggression. Then you arrive, and it's all the walking on eggshells, trying to keep the drama to a minimum. You can try and ignore the narcissist at these celebrations, but ignoring them will make things worse because they hate being ignored. They despise people who refuse to react to their childishness. And it's not just intimate partners. If your narcissistic brother realizes that you're not reacting to his taunts and insults, he's probably going to step it up until you react or somebody reacts. If your narcissistic mother realizes that her comments in front of everyone don't seem to be embarrassing you enough, it's going to get worse and worse until something does embarrass you. It could be when your narcissistic aunt is sobbing hysterically about how everyone's against her and nobody can now have a good time. Holidays are impossible with these people because they don't care about togetherness or love or anyone. They don't care about other people. I remember that my ex would talk about Christmases with one of her ex-girlfriends. No one could ever come close to these Christmases. So my ex had grown up in the Bronx, and she was then experiencing this sort of Long Island Christmas, which to her mind is how it should have been. She idealized their celebration, the way they would dress up, all of the ceremony around Christmas. Now I really do wonder how accurate her memories are and how much she may even have ruined those Christmases. So will the holiday times ever be happy again? I'm here to tell you that they will be. For me, at first, I took it slowly. I do celebrate Christmas, so usually I would have gone over to England to spend Christmas with my mum, but she did pass away in 2020, so now I stay at home. This meant that after my abusive ex and I split up, I had a choice. I could travel, throw myself into Christmas with friends, or I could reclaim it for myself, make a turkey with all the trimmings, celebrate with my little dog, and watch Christmas movies. And that's what I did. I documented the whole thing. It was calm, it was peaceful, it was beautiful, and I took it back. I'm not saying it wasn't difficult. I'm not saying I didn't feel lonely quite a lot of the time, but it was also very cathartic for me, and it needed to happen. It will be very mixed for you. The emotions will be extremely mixed. Each year after that has been a little better, and I'm still getting there. This year, I'm actually going to be celebrating with a dear friend who's traveling to come and see me. So I'm looking forward to that and how it will feel to actually be celebrating the holiday with someone else. It will be the first time I've actually celebrated with someone since I was with my ex. It's one step at a time, one holiday at a time. Each day you take your life back in small and huge ways, and it is beautiful. So let's look at some good practices to start taking your life back over the holidays. Taking back the holidays for yourself after narcissistic abuse can be a crucial step in your healing and recovery process. Narcissistic abuse leaves emotional scars, and it's essential to prioritize self-care and reclaim your sense of joy, however you want it to be during special occasions. Here are some steps to help you take back the holidays. Acknowledge your feelings. It's essential to recognize and validate your emotions. You may feel sadness, anger, anxiety, or even guilt during the holidays. Accepting all of these feelings as normal reactions to your experiences can be the first step towards healing. Like I said, it's not all happy joy, when you have your first holiday apart from this person in freedom. It's a whole catharsis of emotions. The cardinal one, of course, though, being gratitude that you're free. Next, set boundaries. If you have had to stay in contact with the narcissist, you might have a house together, you might have children, Be sure to establish clear boundaries with the narcissistic individual. This might mean limiting or even cutting off contact with them during the holiday season to protect your emotional well-being. Communicate your boundaries firmly and plainly. Next, seek support. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Reach out to friends, family members, or even a therapist who can provide emotional support. You don't have to go through this process alone, and sharing your feelings with trusted individuals can be helpful. Just make sure they're a trusted individual. Focus on self-care. You may not have done this for years. Prioritize self-care activities that help you relax and recharge during the holiday season. This could include meditation, exercise, journaling, or engaging in hobbies you enjoy. Taking care of your physical and emotional well-being is crucial all year round. Maybe you want to start to decorate for the holidays. Slowly but surely, you'll create a whole new experience for yourself with a whole new set of decorations. Next, you could create new traditions. Consider starting new traditions that bring you joy. Decorate your space, cook a special meal. You might even want to volunteer for a charitable cause. You could go out and do something completely different this year because you can. Because you are free to do so. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness techniques can help you stay grounded in the present moment and reduce the impact of intrusive thoughts and memories. Mindfulness meditation and breathing meditation can be particularly helpful. Try to make your space as cozy and warm for yourself as possible. Play calming music, maybe invite a friend or friends round to share some of the time with you. Curate the space that you want. Focus on gratitude. So cultivating a sense of gratitude by reflecting on the positive aspects of your life as it is now. Keep a gratitude journal where you write down things that you are thankful for each day. Be very specific about what it is that you are thankful for. That's the key to gratitude journaling too. So instead of saying, I'm grateful for my dog, say, what about your dog are you grateful for? Maybe you could even make a list of things you'd like to accomplish during the coming year. I remember doing this, and it is amazing how it feels to accomplish the things on your freedom list. I called it my freedom list. You might want to limit social media exposure. So social media could exacerbate feelings of inadequacy and loneliness during the holidays. Consider reducing your time on social platforms or unfollowing certain individuals who might trigger negative emotions or just upset you. And overarching all of this, give yourself time. Healing from narcissistic abuse is a process, and it takes quite a long time. Be patient with yourself and allow yourself to grieve, heal, and grow at your own pace. There's no time frame around it. It can take as short or as long as you need to take. Remember that taking back the holidays for yourself is an act of self-compassion and self-preservation. It's an opportunity to prioritize your well-being and create a more positive and nurturing holiday experience for yourself going forward. You deserve happiness and peace during the season and throughout the year. To be honest, I'm excited for you. Use your freedom and your new start to love yourself and learn to love your life again. It is truly an amazing feeling. So now we're going to take a quick break, and afterwards I'll be back with this week's themed journal entry. I'll see you in a moment. Welcome back. This week, I've done a series of journal entries for you. So you can either do all of them, or you could do one or two of them. It's completely up to you. If you like lists, there's some listing ones here for you. If you like to write out how you're feeling, there's that here too. There's even a letter prompt as well. So here they are. 1. What are some positive aspects of the holidays you would like to reintegrate into your life. 2. Can you identify any traditions or activities that hold painful memories? How might you modify or replace these to create new, positive associations? 3. List some of the achievable goals or intentions you can set for yourself during the holidays to make them more meaningful and enjoyable. 4. List how you can prioritize your own well-being and boundaries during this time, ensuring that you feel safe and respected. 5. Write a list of adventures you'd like to have during the coming year. 6. Consider writing a letter to yourself. You can read it again a year from now. Express self-compassion and acknowledge your strength and resilience in reclaiming the holidays for yourself. Now, you can use these journal prompts as opportunities to explore your feelings and experiences and to develop a plan for creating a holiday season that aligns well with your healing journey and your personal growth. Please note, this podcast is not intended to replace professional therapy or counselling. It serves as a supplementary resource for support and encouragement. Listeners, you are encouraged to seek professional help if needed. I did, and it works for me every day. Stay tuned, and I look forward to healing with you again next time. Bye-bye.